Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Johnson, and I'm president of the Eugene O'Neill Society. And I'm really thrilled to be talking about Beyond the Horizon, a play that I think really speaks to our cultural moment, even though it was written 103 years ago. I think that what O'Neill was getting at bears an uncanny parallel to our moment because it's a play about yearning beyond the horizon, but it's also a play that showcases and portrays characters who are trapped, who are confined, and who one of whom succumbs to a disease which has really been a pandemic in the world, and that is tuberculosis. And so I think how O'Neill does this is he tells it through the story of a family in crisis, really, and with his sort of trademark Oedipal struggle between fathers and sons, but also his trademark representation of a doomed couple, and or in this case, love triangle. So we have here Robert Mayo, who is a poet in the making, who's described as having wide, dark eyes. And he's really an O'Neill stand in, much like the sickly Edmund, who we'll see later in Long Day's Journey into Night, or perhaps Stephen Murray in The Straw. So I think the play is about deferred dreams, about a dream deferred who, Lorraine Hansberry will pick up that idea, whether you shrivel up like a raisin in the sun. But, O'Neill's writing about these, deferred dreams of these two sons, these two brothers, rather, Robert and Andrew. And Robert really is yearning for dreams that are beyond the family farm. And I thought I could read their bit of dialogue here from Act One, Scene One, where Robert says, uh, supposing I was to tell you that it's just beauty that's calling me, the beauty of the far off and the unknown, the mystery and the spell of the East, which lures me in the books I've read, the need of the freedom of great wide spaces, the joy of wandering on and on, in the quest of the secret which is hidden over there, beyond the horizon. It's such beautiful writing, isn't it? And, Andrew replies to him, well, then you might as well stay here because we've got all you're looking for right here on the farm. There's wide space open enough. Lord knows you can have all the sea you want by walking a mile down the road to the beach. And there's plenty of horizon to look at and beauty enough for anyone. So we have this dialectic here between the beyond and here, and well, it's foregrounding the themes that O'Neill will explore later on in terms of the farm, the confining farm. But here, I think O'Neill shows us that Robert's dreams of traveling beyond and reading literature, cannot be realized, and so too Andrew's dreams of a life on the farm with a family also will not happen. And so ultimately, there is no beyond, there is no returning home. There's really just this endless horizon of drudgery and work, and yes, tragedy. And I think it's what makes the play so biting and poignant, for this moment where, it's right after the First World War. Uh, in the U.S., more people. The leading cause of death of 20 to 25-year-olds is tuberculosis, and it's a tragedy that will unfold in front of us with all of these intersecting themes, and which is made more pronounced by this moment of recognition, and this is an aspect of ancient Greek drama where the characters or others will have this realization of what could have happened to prevent the tragedy. And I think in Robert's case, um, it is realizing that medical attention could have averted his tragic demise. I'm trying not to give too much away here. But, this realization, I think, echoes with the current COVID pandemic, where people who find themselves in urgent care or perhaps on a ventilator realize perhaps too late that the treatment perhaps could have averted their death. And so I think the tragedy that's in front of us in O'Neill's play can really speak to what we're going through. A final point I wanted to raise, really, as a question, is whether it can be said that dreams beyond the horizon are gendered. Are they? Are What hopes do the women have in the play of moving beyond the horizon, of mobility, of sea voyages, and the joys of wandering on and on? Well, those things are foreclosed to them, of course, because O'Neill's writing in 1918, and this is not going to be attainable for Kate Mayo, um, Robert's mother. It's not available for Ruth, his wife, nor her mother, who's on the farm rather, with her illness and disability. So the women too are trapped, and they are tethered to these spaces. And he wants to show us how it doesn't only affect, the brothers and their father, by the way, but also the women in the play. Now, there's this strange moment where some of the characters in the play blame Ruth. And this was echoed, Travis Bogard tells us, in some of the press during the premiere production, where Ruth was referred to by one critic as a whining slut. Shocking words, really, as someone who's dragging down her husband. And, I think actually O'Neill is pointing to the ways in which we might blame people who are perhaps blameless, who are themselves victims. And in the final scene, Andrew is particularly cruel to Ruth. It's just, so terrible what they're facing there. And, Robert has crawled out to the road to be able to look from the vantage point he always would love to look at finally. And she cradles his head in her lap, sort of like the Pietà. And it also is anticipating, I think, that scene, that beautiful scene where Josie cradles Jim's head in Moon for the Misbegotten. But, in this moment, Andrew is really sort of cruel to her and blames her for Robert's demise. And he shouts to her, "This is your doing, you damn woman, you coward, you murderess." And, O'Neill gives her the lines where she retorts and turns to him and says, "Look, I have suffered enough." And indeed she has. She's really become dull and almost a victim of shock and trauma. And so her suffering is shown. And I think that the way in which the play ends with the couple sinking into a dull exhaustion beyond a place of hope, O'Neill writes in the ending, is true. It's true to that cultural moment. And I respect him for resisting sort of a melodramatic ending that we might see with Camille, let's say. And again, Bogart sort of observes this where, Camille collapses into Armand's arms, and there is this, melodramatic kind of 19th century moment where they express their love. No, that is the theater of O'Neill's father, and he's not going to write this scene. He's going to write almost a shell-shocked, terrible moment of suffering. And I think that is truer to the cultural moment, to write a scene like that. It's a scene that made his father cry, and which he acknowledged was something that was not his own theater. So I think this is why the play won the Pulitzer Prize in 1920. I think the first of four Pulitzers that O'Neill will garner in his career, and I think it's why critics refer to it as the American drama, of the early 20th century, of the 1920s, when America was trying to find a voice in the American theater. And it's a play, I think, that still really speaks to us. So I hope when you go and see the play up at Tao House and in the barn, that beautiful theater, with the wonderful direction of Eric and his talented cast, I really hope that it speaks to you in some way. And thank you for letting me talk to you about Beyond the Horizon. Enjoy.